Hi, everybody. Welcome to tonight's episode of Ramblemancy. Tonight's guest, we're joined by Invert. He's up here on my screen. Welcome.
I'm in the right spot.
Yeah, I think so. All right. Well, welcome, and it's good to have you with us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about content creation and all the sort of things kind of around that, probably, most likely. Because I feel like that conversation does sometimes get a little bit inside baseball,
Oh yeah.
but like there's all sorts of other like interesting ways to like relate that to other stuff. So like it's gonna be a good time, is what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to say here. Um, Ordinarily we would, as y'all know, we'd start out our stream with some announcements, but considering that this is like the thing that we're doing right now, John, what do you got for us?
Oh, all right. It's straight into the part of the stream where
Right,
Lucas throws me under the bus.
right in there.
Here, I was preparing to dodge out of the way, and it showed up like in. I'm so unused to buses being early as an American. Um. Anyway. Right,
I would like to fact check this, please.
All right. I had to stop to roast the American public transportation system or lack thereof.
There you go.
But no, so like part of I've been streaming more on my own channel lately. We're back to streaming here, and I've been lucky enough to be able to like kick around and stream and collab with a bunch of other people the last like 6 or so months, and it's just had me thinking a lot about content creation and like streaming and the different way that we all do it and the different path that we've all had to it. And I was like, that would be fun to talk about. Let's get a guest, somebody that I know plays lots of cool games and is fun to hang out with. And I was like, Invert, that seems like a good person to have on. So I met Invert playing Codenames through Ray, right?
Yeah. Over
Cool.
on Tech Games Edition, her channel. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We make actually like quite a good Codenames duo. I have to say, I don't know how many times we've actually won, but we always come very close.
I'm pretty sure I'm like 90% win rate over there.
Yeah,
I think.
you and your chat are very, very good at code names.
Yeah, people are really creative. I couldn't do it without people in chat, honestly.
They're so like chat is so incredibly helpful when it comes to code names. Like
Yeah.
I cannot. There's quite a few clues where it like if it's not just one that I got from chat, like chat suggesting something like leapfrogged me or like
Yeah, that's
springboarded
the
me
thing,
into
right?
something.
Just like all those little connections that pop up in your mind when someone says something random.
Like, oh yeah, I see the angle
Yeah.
you've got there, and now like I that
Yeah.
reframes how I'm thinking about how I could combine these words. So, yeah. I guess for those in our chat who are not familiar with Invert, first of all, please go follow them. But second of all, it is customary to boo Invert when they arrive. And I don't know the lore here. Is there Invert, how did it become customary to boo?
Okay, so a friend of mine, Vanna, who I've modded for like 4 years or whatever. I started streaming. Uh, man, how many years ago is this now? Like, it's almost 4 years. I've been streaming at this point.
Wow.
But every time she would like thank the moderators after every one of her streams, she would thank them, and I would immediately say boo mods. So just razzing myself and the other mods at the same time. But then it slowly turned to like the chat booing me specifically every time I would say that. And then that just carried over to like my stream when I started streaming
Good.
and to other streams I end up in. So anytime I'm in chat and someone recognizes me and they know the boo thing, they would boo me. So yeah, I just took it as branding at that point after that.
Perfect.
It's worked out. Like it's
That's so funny though. Like that's a good point, because that's something that I've definitely noticed before, is like when like an inside joke in on like one channel it will never stay contained there. It will always follow into other things, and then often morph into like various permutations. It's wild the way that works.
Yeah, it snowballs and it's funny. It's everyone has a good time with it. I don't mind the booing. It's really funny to me too. So it's like I don't know. It's been good.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, Edgefit mentioned it. The boo invert supercut that you have to play when people raid into you is incredible. It is the best. That's the best. Like, hey, here's me, here's my channel, and here's what my friends have to say about me. I
No,
think that
see,
I've
it's that's a nice tone to like what my channel is. It's just very relaxed. Like I don't.
Yeah.
I love sarcasm. I love sarcastic jokes. People can make fun of me. I really don't care. It's a great time.
That's awesome.
I like, and it's emblematic of one of the things that I really do love about Twitch that Lucas mentioned also is because like each channel, like, and each channel and community has its own like little bits of lore. Like, you know, for me at some point somebody joked that I was the goblin mod over on Bree's channel, and because like I'd be sitting in there like making meme polls anytime that she like could make a decision about an art piece that she was working on, and I'd make a bunch of just like false choices that were all extremely silly, stuff like that. And then people gave a name to me like as a goblin, and now it's just evolved into this entire like goblin extended universe. And then like the goblin themes just have seeped outward into other like adjacent channels, and it's so heartwarming to me that people like have all got their own little goblin personas now. But like Twitch communities do this really cool thing like that, where like somebody makes a joke and then somebody else just piggybacks off of it, and then all of a sudden you've got this little community phenomena that just like reaches out and morphs into different things as people like raid into each other or like refer each other to their friends. I don't know. It's really cool to watch.
Oh, 100%. It's one of the most fun things about just Twitch chats in general. You know, everything is very organic. You don't.
Yeah,
No,
it's
it
so
just feels nice. It just because you're part of it. You know, like the chat's part of it. You're a part of it. Everyone's having fun with it, and it's not like you're. It's not like any of it's planned, really. Honestly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, it's
It
so
just
interesting.
happens.
Like that's I imagine like that's got to be like it's a very like interesting thing. Like how you said like there's all these little like each channel has its own little like idiosyncrasies and like these sort of things. I wonder like listen if anybody out there watching this is currently this is a very I understand this is a very like edge case niche sort of thing, but if you happen to be an anthropology major in school right now and you're looking for a project to write about, I'm just saying.
Listen, the English major in me does recognize that like, oh, there's like a there's a paper to be written here about this. This is a really interesting phenomena. But
Yeah. No, it's and that's actually genuinely like you mentioned invert like that. It's one of like your favorite things, and I think I agree. I also really like that, especially like jumping from like into a new community and like on Twitch and whatever, and seeing the different ways that they like that they're like inside jokes. They're like shared stories and things like that, and the little things that sort of pop up around those channels is always so like engaging to me when I first jump in to like a Twitch chat or something like that. Because like I might not know what's going on in the moment, but then like learning about it is in some ways a way of bringing people into and being part of the community. You know, like if they're brand new, telling them like, oh, explaining like this is the lore behind this thing that you just asked a question about and didn't understand. Now you're part of it. So like, I think that's so cool. Like that is a thing that exists.
Oh yeah, yeah. It brings people together really, and it's one of the most fun parts about streaming, about being in different channels, seeing all those little differences and seeing some similarities between certain channels. Because I often take on um, what my streamer friends say a lot, you know, just the random little things they say. I'll just like replicate it on my own channel. I don't even realize it half the time, you know?
Yeah, that's yeah, absolutely. And like especially like you mentioned that you've been doing this for about 4 years, streaming for about 4 years. That's I think it's so interesting because like when you say like, oh, 4 years, that's not a long time, but in streaming terms, that is a long time.
Oh,
That's a
yeah.
lot of time to like
Yeah.
build up like that kind of community, your sort of repertoire of like work that you've done, the like all of that. So like, first of all, like kudos and congratulations. That's an accomplishment. um, I think. Wait, have we been doing it for about 4 years too?
We started streaming the
Yeah,
January
2019.
before Gen Con 2019.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So
coming up
Oh,
on
wow.
Wow.
We started around the same time then.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
A
Yeah,
wild
2019.
coincidence.
Yeah, 'cause I think-
May, I think I started May or June
Okay.
2019.
Yeah.
I think
That's right, because
I
we
think
just
it
we
was-
just had our 4-year Rambleversary in February.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's
I think
right.
it was like mid-February that we streamed
Yeah,
the
yeah.
first episode of Ramblemancy.
Yeah, very
here.
Oh my
similar
god.
times.
I'm so sorry, Matt. Matt's in the chat reminding me that I literally paid him to do a 4-year Ramblemancy cut.
Jeez.
I sure did do that, didn't I? Listen, time isn't real. If we learned anything from the
Yeah.
pandemic.
It just the last 4 years feels so unreal to me, and in part because in 2019, like I was a substitute teacher in rural Iowa, whose kind of image of what their life was probably going to be was, yeah, I'll substitute teach for a year or two here, and then I'll go pick up an English teaching job somewhere in Iowa or Minnesota. And then like maybe go to grad school at some point, I guess, and like shoot for like a college, like a professorial like English profession, like position or something like that. And then a combination of some realizations about myself and also the pandini. All of a sudden, like if you had sat down in front of that person and said, "Hey, in 4 years you're gonna be streaming video games a few times a week, and making tabletop RPGs for a living," I would have been like, "What?"
Wow.
So,
Yeah. No, it's. I feel like so many people have a similar story from like the last 4 years too, where it's like in particular content creators that I've talked to have had a similar story where they like had an entirely different plan, and then like the pandemic being what it was sort of forced them to just like refocus, and it kind of brought them here. Some people like came here on purpose to be like, hey, I want to do this thing, and now that I'm in this situation, I should try it. And some people were just like bored and like needed something to do to keep them sane during the pandemic, and like ended up here. And I just think that the different ways that people come to this is always like so interesting to me.
yeah.
Yeah, I started well slightly before the pandemic, obviously,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
when the pandemic hit, I was obviously we're out of the job,
Mm-hmm.
the shop closed, so I was like, what do I do now? Everyone's locked down. I might as well stream.
Mm-hmm.
So I started down that path, and I think the community really rallied around me and encouraged me to continue doing it. And I actually managed to go full time with it at that point,
Wow.
and not have to worry about finances at all through the pandemic, and it just continued to like snowball since then. It's
Wow.
it wasn't a path I really chose purposely either.
Yeah.
I was kind of like pushed into it because like I'm suddenly jobless, you know? Like, what do I do now?
Right.
I guess I'll do this since I can't do anything else at the moment. And then now here I am, like 3 years later, still at it.
Well, that's
Yeah.
that's such a good like that's a really good point though. Like the thing about like your community sort of like rallying around you and encouraging you, and I feel like that's kind of in through some of the hardest sort of hurdles that we've had to overcome at Rule of Lore. Like that really is the thing that has kind of like kept us going. Is
Yeah.
when like the community kind of like rallies and is like, hey, this thing that you did is really cool and I really enjoy it and appreciate it. And they're like, okay, I guess I'll do it more. Let's go. You know?
Yeah. I don't know, like it Twitch, I think there's quite a few different scales of like what people do on here, and when we're talking about like kind of affiliates and partners that sit around like where we're at, the folks can be so very sweet and supportive in this corner of Twitch. And it's really just like it's genuinely heartwarming to see every time I see it. because that's a little bit how I wound up streaming myself, because I've been streaming here on Rule of Lore, like doing Ramblemancy for a couple of years, and like helping to like facilitate our APs, and I've been like modding here and for Bree. And then I hit like a certain like threshold of followers on Twitter or something. I was like, fuck it, like, you guys want to see me stream Super Metroid next week? And people were like, yeah. And so I did. I think I just 100%ed Super Metroid on stream for fun. And then folks were like, you should do that again. And I was like, okay. And so I kept doing it.
I'm interested in like, because I think, because Invert, like, most of your content is a lot of like mostly video games, right? Am I right about that? Because like,
Yeah.
because so I'm interested because I know that like the kind of stuff that like our two channels do is different. So I'm just really interested in like find out where like similarities are. So like, on the subject of like of production on your end, like, I mean, sorry, I'm trying to like figure out the exact words for like the question that's in my brain. But like, so how much of what you do is off? I'm asking this as a question I probably know the answer to a little bit, but like, how much of what you do happens when you're not streaming?
How much of what I do happens when I'm not
Like,
streaming?
how much time do you spend on things that aren't the actual act of streaming, but like are for your streams?
Oh man. A lot of people, I guess it varies
Mm-hmm.
between different streamers depending on um their viewership, their what exactly games they stream. I mean, a lot of it is like especially for bigger streamers, I think they have to handle a lot of sponsorship things. They have to handle a lot of varying up their content on different platforms,
Yeah.
especially. That's one thing I wish I had more energy to do.
Mm-hmm.
To branch out to like TikTok, to branch out to
Yeah.
like YouTube especially. Um, but for me personally, right now it's probably like 2080, and I know a lot of
Okay.
other streamers are more like maybe even 50-50, honestly,
Yeah.
because that's where you gain the viewership from
Mm-hmm.
when you branch out to those other platforms. Like
Yeah.
that's where a lot of people are drawn from, because Twitch itself, as much as I do love the platform, it's not very good for discoverability
Yeah.
at
Mm-hmm.
all. Um, and that's a huge issue and problem. Um, that I think a lot of streamers, myself included, have just wish they would change. you know, do
Yeah.
something about it so
Yeah.
we aren't forced to spend that much time, like 50-50%
Mm-hmm.
of your time off of
Yeah.
the platform just to gain viewership for your primary platform, you know? It
Yeah.
just seems like it's not, it almost feels like a waste of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's kind of it's a thing I think a lot of folks, even in different industries, see. I know, like, if you talk about like book publishing, there's like a lot of pressure on like authors to also be like big social media personalities,
Yeah.
so that they can bring more people to the publishing house to purchase their books. Right. And it feels like a little bit the same thing. Like, obviously our medium is live. It's less of a product than a book is, but it feels similar to me. Like, oh yes, like cultivate a following on like Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube so that you can bring them over here to Twitch and chat with them live. Because most of Twitch's discoverability comes basically from word of mouth, like
Yeah.
people that you follow or that your chat recommends, and then you rate into them and kind of moosh your communities together. And some people are like,
Yeah.
oh, you were playing this today, I like that game, and then they show up like a few streams later, or like you get rated into, and a few of those people stick around.
Yeah,
Right.
networking is also like a huge part of the entire
Absolutely.
process. I didn't even factor that into my like 80-20. It might even be
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
40-60 now I actually think about it. Because
Yeah.
like just making friends with streamers on this platform is such a huge thing, especially
Mm-hmm.
when it was early on for me. I would be rated in by streamers I just know, or like
Mm-hmm.
friends of streamers I know, stuff
Right.
like that. Like just word of mouth. and people liking you. Like that
Yeah.
was a huge part of it.
Yeah, and like
Absolutely.
it takes energy and
Oh
time
yeah.
to like go and pop into, even if you just like all the time you have is just like pop in and say hello in somebody's chat, like, hey, just like, you're doing great.
No,
Like,
100%.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
And there's
No.
a balance you have to strike with that too, because like, you don't want to be the guy who just pops in to say hi to get a shout out and then disappear.
Right.
Like
yeah.
that's no one likes that guy. No one's gonna raid that guy.
No.
Yeah.
Um,
Like, and you can kind of feel it too, right? When it's like there's a difference in feel between like, oh hey, I'm gonna pop in, how's Fallout going, or like how's Borderlands going, how's Super Metroid going, like chit chat for a little bit, and like, okay, I gotta go off and get back to work or whatever. Like there's like that, and then there's folks who like, come in, fish for a shout out, and then leave. Like there's
yeah,
there's definitely a difference that you can feel when you're interacting
sure.
with people. I think that folks that are just trying to like
Mhm.
network and then just actually like taking a genuine interest in other people and what they're doing, and like pumping up your fellow content creators.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
People know if you're being genuine or not. Like that's the
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah.
Like people know, and if you aren't, then yeah,
Yeah.
it's
It's definitely one of those things like, cause, and the reason I asked the question is because like it's definitely, I know we spend, especially these days, since like these days Ramblemancy is mostly what we're doing, so we spend like our ratio is off. So like our we spend so much more time with like prep and not and sort of managing the channel and all that sort of stuff, and like you mentioned, like the networking and that kind of thing these days than we used to. But even when we were doing actual plays, 2 or 3 of them, it was still like between like, because the other thing, like you said, yeah, promotion and discoverability are like the kinds of things that you tend to do other things for. And I remember when like people start like when content creators really started using TikTok a lot to bring people over,
Mhm.
I started like looking into it. I was like, wait a minute. So what you're telling me is that I have to like make content on a different platform so that I can bring people to my content that I'm making on this platform, that I
yeah,
am already struggling with the balance that I am
yeah,
already
Yeah.
struggling. And I was like, I don't think I want to do that.
yeah. It's so tough, and you're expected to do that on top of running your stream as it is, on top of
Yeah.
dealing with
Mhm.
sponsorships and partnerships, on top of all that kind of stuff, and
Yeah.
networking with your friends, making sure they're not
Mhm.
Yeah.
feeling like you're just there for a shout out.
Right. And
Yeah.
Um,
sometimes the worst part is that sometimes even when you're absolutely not, you're absolutely not just like fishing for shout outs. Sometimes you're just like, God, I don't know, maybe this I think this is a common thing, but like I can only speak for myself here, where like I jump in somewhere and I'm like, God,
Mhm.
I feel so bad because like you've been so supportive and whatever, but like I just do not have the energy to like be here and supportive in the same way, and now I feel like I am like verging into the like, you know, into the like coattail riding territory, and like that's absolutely
uh,
not what I want to do, and it's just so
Mhm.
oh, but
yeah, I've tended towards just lurking nowadays,
yeah.
so I don't feel like I'm just there to support them, and that's it. Like
Yeah.
I don't want them to feel like I'm there to show up and be like, hey, why don't you shout me out and send your people over to me? No, I'm not there for
Yeah.
that. I'm just there to like
Yeah.
check out the stream and hang out, and that's it. So
Yeah.
I just lurk nowadays, so to avoid all that stress of that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, and I try to make sure that like when folks post in like the promo channel and like my Discord or Rule of Lore's Discord, I try to like pop open a tab in my browser and make sure that I've got alert going on, and, like pop in for a few minutes and like see how like,
Yeah.
the tabletop RPG show's going, or like what game they're playing today.
Yeah.
That's the other thing, like Twitch kind of makes that difficult too, because you have like there are some very specific parameters around which you count as a view for that person, and it's just like, okay, well, I am working, but this person that
Mhm.
I really like is streaming, and I want to support them, but I can't be there because I'm working right now. so I'll just put them in the background. But if I'm muted, then I don't count as a view, so it's
Yeah, keep that
pointless.
1%.
It's
The
just like,
1%.
Yeah. Then every so often somebody gets really excited in one of your tabs. You're like, oh god, there's someone else here.
so there's a really intense part of their game that they're playing, and you just like they're screaming at their. It's like, oh god, what just happened? Like,
Yeah, I've always got a stream on in the background nowadays. No matter what I'm doing, there's like always a stream going on.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Like,
That reminds me.
Oh,
I think
I forgot to get chat up on my device. Sorry, chat. Forgot to set this up.
Matt also interjecting with or Geek Out's interjecting with an important part of any streamer's daily routine, which is remembering to make food for yourself.
Yeah. And hydrating, you know.
Hitting that.
Have done both of those things today.
And I went to the gym and I made food for myself today. So like I'm on top of the world.
Yep, I'm hydrating. See, this is water. It's actually just entire water bottle full of Everclear. It's just no.
Yeah, with every 10 minutes of Ramblemancy, Lucas will drink another 10 milliliters. So by the end, we will be very sloshed.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Look, it strains even my like extroverted tendencies. Just like doing this, just as is. If I added the potential that I might just like pass out and collapse on the floor during it, no, I wouldn't even be able to hit the live button. Do not do that. Don't worry, I'm not doing that.
I want to be clear. I would like to be clear, rule of lore, and Jonathan the person do not endorse that behavior.
Absolutely not. But that said, because I forgot to say at the top of the stream, Happy St. Patty's Day, everybody. I'm since it is the day that it is, I am having a little bit of Guinness right here. So if you are celebrating Happy St. Patty's Day, I didn't either until like about half an hour before. It is, isn't it?
I forgot.
It's the 17th.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I realized it when I went to the bouldering gym today at like 2 or like 1:30 or so, and I came in and like usually they're playing like some kind of like standard gym music fare. Like they don't usually do like top 40. A lot of times it'll like they'll have just some kind of chill electronic music on or something. Or like variations of good background rock. Rock. Anyway. And I walked in and heard, and it's no, nay, never. Yeah. No, nay, never, no more. Like
I thought for sure you were gonna say they were just playing "Oh Danny Boy" on repeat the whole time.
Oh God, I think I would have turned around and walked back out.
Look, once is fine. Repeat, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So they walked in. I walked in and they were playing that, and I was like, "Oh shit, yeah, it is St. Patrick's Day, isn't it?"
Yep.
I remember that. Time is a flat circle.
Yes.
I would say that I'm celebrating because all my lights are green, but that's just what my constant setup is, just the green lights. It's a nice
green screen for me.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm wearing my green hoodie.
I'm Irish and I don't have a bit of green on me today. No, wait, I do.
There you go.
I've got a goblin. I've got a goblin.
Totally counts.
Yeah.
I'm
Look, I've got like I'm Puerto Rican, but I have like Celtic way back, so it totally
way.
I've got some like got some Celt genes in there somewhere way back, but yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So oh, sorry.
No, I was just talking about way back genes.
Yeah. No, I was gonna ask Invert, what have you been playing recently on your channel?
Recently,
yeah,
I've been playing a lot of King of a Castle, actually.
Really?
Which is strangely fun. I don't know if you know what that game is.
No, I'm not familiar with it.
It's basically a game where the streamer plays the king or a queen, ruling a kingdom, and Twitch chat itself can join the game as nobles in this king's kingdom. So they're part of the noble council, and they get to do votes during the game itself, making decisions for the kingdom. So each there's 3 factions that players can join, and each of those factions want to win, obviously, including the king. And it's just, I love Twitch integration games. There's just something so fun about that, the interaction between you and chat, and the extra participation, not just like chatting with you, but actually having an effect on the game itself. And it feels very much like a board game too, that you're playing with chat.
Oh, that's super cool.
So it's like, I don't know, I've been having so much fun with it.
That sounds super fun. That's, oh man. I had never heard of that. That sounds super cool. But I do like, I've always found it fun. Like, I'm not a big, like, I've always found it really cool, like you said, like the Twitch integration type games, or even ones that aren't specifically Twitch integrated, but like Jackbox, for example. Not specifically Twitch integrated, but like the chat can join in on those sorts of things. I always thought that concept was really cool, even though like I'm not a big like, if I'm at like a gathering of people and like somebody's like, hey, let's play a board game, I'm like, you guys have fun, I'll watch. Like, that's me. But like, I still think it's cool that it exists. And it's always just as fun for me when I'm like in a chat when somebody's doing something like that, like a Jackbox games or like Twitch integration games, things like that, where like watching it is just as much fun for me as I think participating is for other people. Like, I'm glad those exist, and that's
Yeah, and sure. Like, I want to see more of them too, because I think I raided into you a couple times Invert while I was playing Cult of the Lamb, and that's a really good example of Twitch integration in a game done just super well. Like, chat gets to make decisions here and there about like the runs that you're out on, or if you're not out on a run, sometimes it'll just pitch them a decision like, yes, do you want to like resurrect a cult member, or do you want to make everybody poop? So, and like, of course, like everybody can like join the cult, and like, I don't know, it's seeing games that like they make the game and then like have some native like Twitch integration. It's really cool to see like indie companies and stuff recognizing, I mean, what's probably kind of just a marketing angle for them, but also is genuinely super fun for streamers and stream communities.
Well, that's exactly the thing. It adds another layer to that interaction. That's just so much more fun because you can riff off of that. That's the thing, right? It's actually pretty useful for you as a streamer to be able to play with chat in that way and just have fun at the same time with everyone.
Well, because I know like one of the things that I have always struggled with, like I think on the record as being somebody who's like, I don't enjoy solo streaming. Like, I like doing this where like I have other people on stream with me. Like, solo streaming is hard for me, and I have a theory about that based on like introvert versus extrovert solo streaming, but we're not going to get into that right now. The point being that like that like something like that I think would be fun for me, because then like inherently there is a certain amount of like interactivity with chat, and so you actually have people that like, even if you're like, you can interact in a way that doesn't directly require to keep the conversation going and like require chat to sort of like there's something for them to interact with besides just like chatting. And I think that that's something that would make it easier for somebody like me who doesn't like doing solo streaming to do it. Yeah,
solo streaming can be kind of weird, honestly, because you're just blabbering nonstop about random things. Like, you can't stop talking. But no one's like replying, really. Right. Well, chat does, but
right, yeah. But like on those like especially early days as a streamer, like when there's not that many people in your chat, and like or not particularly everybody's lurking that day, everybody's like sort of low energy or whatever. That makes it, at least for me, makes it super hard, mainly because
I can totally see that.
Yeah, it's just like and I guess we are getting into my theory, but like I think it's harder. Solo streaming is probably harder for an extrovert than an introvert, because like for an extrovert,
thought about that, but yeah, I can see that now.
Like most of like the like big streamers that I know, that I am aware of, and I grant that this is very anecdotal, but like most of the big streamers that I'm aware of like are self-identified introverts, and like when it comes to like extrovert, at least for myself, I know the big thing is like I tend to feed off of other people's energies, which is one of the reasons why I thrive in TTRPGs. But like I thrive off of other people's energies. Like somebody says something, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good idea, and it gets my brain going. But like if I've got nothing coming back at me, then I've got nothing to feed on, and my energy goes away. That's my secret. That's my secret. Is I need other people to keep my energy going.
That makes so much sense now that you're saying
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
No, I
Yeah.
agree actually.
Whereas
This
like
is
if you're
interesting.
if you're an introvert, you probably
Yeah.
like you are more comfortable doing the thing that you have to do when you're like
Yeah.
early days as a streamer, which is talking to nobody, you know.
Yeah.
You know? You
This
have,
is an
you're-
interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
So like Freeman, solo streaming.
So yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Hey, wait
Yeah.
a minute, hold up. No, because like I'm like 50-50, honestly.
Yeah.
Probably erred more on the side of like extrovert when I was doing more theater stuff in person, and I got that. Like, I was like, you feed off of the audience, right? There's a little bit of that. That is definitely a big help and a huge difference from going from that to streaming. There's still an audience, and you're still. It's just a different feedback. That's all. That's all it
Yeah.
is. But I have become very much more introverted as the years have gone by, and like I definitely do a lot of talking out loud by myself. Not to sound too sorry, I'm crazy, a little crazy, but you know, it helps.
Listen,
it
the
helps. I do a
pandemic
lot of
affected us
thinking out
all in a
loud.
lot of affected us all in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
So
Well, no, I just do a lot of I do a lot of the
Yeah.
thinking and like and discovering things like out loud to myself.
No,
And
see, that's perfect
sometimes
for
I have a recorder too to help out with that.
there you go.
So
yeah.
maybe I found maybe I try that out.
That's right.
No, it is perfect for solo streaming because you do need to just blabber, like just
Yeah.
whatever comes to your mind as you're playing whatever game or doing whatever you're doing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Just continue to blabber over and over nonstop.
Yeah, well, like so much of what you do as a solo streamer is just like thinking aloud. Like if you're playing a game,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
thinking through a puzzle aloud, and like sometimes funny shit just comes out of your mouth and you don't even realize it, and then somebody in chat clips you, and now you're all laughing about it, and like there's a conversation to be had there, like until the next funny thing happens, or like I don't know. It's a lot of what you do as solo streaming is just like being reactive and talking to yourself.
Well, and then you add. I'm going to call myself out here a little bit. Then you add ADHD and rejection sensitivity dysphoria into the mix, and you're like, oh, wait a minute. So you make a joke, but obviously like nobody's going to respond. Like you don't get the feedback of people laughing at your joke.
Oh yeah,
So like
yeah.
I'll just like make a dumb joke, and I'm like, okay, that was a dumb thing to say. We're just gonna move right past that, and now I feel uncomfortable, and then that just stacks on top of each other, and then I just get real tired by the.
Invert
God.
never says clippable things. Somehow I find this highly
God.
unlikely.
Oh, jeez.
I was in your chat earlier, and I saw that the quote counter is at like 360 something. So like
Ooh.
I don't.
Oh man. Well, welcome, Taj. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Not good to see, Taj.
Oh no. Okay. Well.
No,
Very
don't.
Boo, Taj.
Um.
Invert also, I must say, I love your emote. I love your emotes.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, those started off as like a placeholder. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna draw these real quick so everyone has emotes they can use, and then I'm gonna commission something.
Mm-hmm.
But then the reaction to them and everyone like constantly using them everywhere, as simple as they are, like look at them, right? They're just
Yeah.
it's cyan on black, and they're just stick people, and that's it. But there's something nice about it that people like, because like everyone's got those like fancy, customized, commissioned emotes that look amazing.
Yeah. That's
The
what I was gonna say.
simplicity, like, is great too.
Yeah,
apparently,
that's what I was gonna say. Like, I think that is probably why they are so like appealing, is that they're simple. It's easy to tell what they're about, and then that's great. Like, because I've seen, and maybe we have had emotes that are just so like complex that you're just like I can't even really see this. They're very small. So like having
there's an art to making emotes. There really is.
There really is. And I think one of our Oh,
shit!
dope.
Sorry. Nico has made a few. Speaking of emotes, Nico has made a few, and it looks like the ones he made for Bree recently have finally been approved by Twitch. Oh my
So
god,
cool.
That's
Beautiful,
awesome.
amazing. There's a little goblin Bree.
Oh my
The
gosh.
little
That's
because
awesome.
one of Bree's standard emotes is just like a little love sniper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. Ah, I do love animated emotes though. Like, but I think it all comes back to like the same thing, right? Like when they're animated, it makes it easier to tell like what they're about, what they are. So like, it really is about that like uh the ease of use. I would say.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, that's very cool. One of my early mistakes in running the channel is not realizing until later, of course, that like you can't just take any piece of like art and turn it into an emote. Like an emote has to be like made to be an emote. Otherwise,
Yeah.
otherwise you end up with some real like, what is that? I don't. What
Yeah,
is
you
going on?
can't tell what it is.
Yeah, it's just.
Yep.
There's a whole thing behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no,
It's
like
that tiny.
they're down to like double digit by double digit pixels
Yeah.
when you get to the smallest sizes of emotes. So like they have to be simple and extremely readable. And I think like especially like fun little hand drawn emotes like that, I think are the kind of things that Twitch, especially when it comes to like game streams and stuff like that, it's fun to have those around.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I'm very happy with them.
Um, a
Yeah, it adds
related,
to the interaction. You know.
yeah.
Yeah.
I had a related
See,
question.
I like to base my emotes off of like emotions, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like a couple of them are
Yeah.
like super happy, you know.
Mhm.
Oh my god.
Nice, awesome.
That's incredible.
Oh, that's very happy
Thinking
indeed.
confused.
Oh, I love that one
Well,
actually. That's
thinking-
great.
That's
We're
awesome.
in love. Okay, ignore that one.
No. Invert. I got you.
Oh.
Same hat. Same hat.
Oh my god.
Oh.
Primary
Oh.
emotion.
We're just like, right, welcome to Ramblemancy tonight. We're showing off our emotes.
Yeah.
Let's flex, baby.
Oh my god.
Favorite emotes in chat right now. I don't care whose channel they're from.
Let's do it.
Oh, my favorite emote is I use this one a lot.
Oh, very nice.
Just
Oh,
a
the
little
nice
knife.
one. Yep, that's good. That's
What
good.
do you have?
feel like-
A knife.
No. I feel like everybody's got to have a good knife emote, right?
That's true. We should get on that. We really need a good
We
knife.
really, it's a hole in the rule of lore.
It is a little. It is
rule
very
of
much
lore.
so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now
Hassan,
we're all
hello.
just looking through emotes.
I know. Now I'm just like
Yeah.
waiting for like the emotes to show. Oh, very nice.
Oh yes, the one that
Oh.
Ike's little like BB bongo like. That's so good.
I love that one especially because like I'm a huge fan of like the bongo cat meme. It makes me laugh every time. It doesn't matter which permutation of it is. It always makes me laugh. So, although
we need a bus emote. Yeah, we do need a bus emote.
Yep. Oh my god. Oh, those are so good.
Yeah. See, and this is one of another one of my favorite things about Twitch is just like everyone has, and it is like it's like a subset of each channel's lore, like peering into it when you see all of their emotes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, these are
The-
wonderful.
The Czech Games edition, like Rat Jam, so good.
Yeah.
Yes, Jody and Massive, separate emotes, but they go together.
Yeah.
was
The
thinking
license
actually-
plate on the bus says this. Oh god.
I will need to share my favorite Bongo Cat videos in the media channel. And
Yes, please do.
Hassan.
Please do. I
Mhm,
love them.
mhm.
My favorite one is the oh god, the one with the oh god, I always blank on the name of the song, but the Imagine Dragons song. I'm blanking on the name of it. Anyway, I'll post it later if I can find it. It's very funny. But yes, Bongo Cat. The TLDR. Not radioactive.
Like first things first.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
But because like the boom, boom, it's so funny. It makes me
Oh
laugh every time.
yeah.
Anyway,
Yep.
that's
I know what you're talking about. You showed me
Yes.
this. I remember. I just yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
Something interesting I was thinking about actually
Mhm.
when we were talking about Twitch integration for stuff was tabletop RPGs.
I was also thinking.
Yeah.
I was
I don't
wondering if that
know.
was gonna come up. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I literally like when we were talking about it, we were talking a lot about video games, and I wrote down one more multiverse digitized / Twitch integrated TTRPG so I wouldn't forget. But it's interesting to me, especially seeing like a lot of more robust like digital tabletops coming out these days. There's a lot of like like ways to play tabletop RPGs in the digital medium, which I think has probably been accelerated somewhat by the events of the last 2 years. But I know I've seen conversation around like actual play spaces about like since so many of us stream on Twitch, like is there a way to make our tabletop games more interactive with Twitch and less like this kind of like almost a theater performance?
Yeah.
And especially with stuff like One More Multiverse, like I know they're coming out with like they've got a pretty robust like D&D thing, but I know they're also coming out with one for Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast by Possum Creek Games. Like that's been a big thing that's been going on for a while. And I'd be really interested to see like them or some other folks who are doing digital tabletops like Roll20 or D&D Beyond have Twitch integration. I think it'd be very cool, like having native ways to like channel points to give advantage or
Well, whenever I think about that kind of stuff, I always kind of I don't know. I could be very wrong about this because I'm not like a designer of these kinds of things to begin with. So like, but as a player and runner of tabletop RPGs, I feel like whenever I think about this, I think about like the subject of integrating with Twitch. I always kind of come back to the fact that like I think on a certain level, if there were an integration with a TTRPG, it would have to be done with like a TTRPG that's like designed for that purpose, because otherwise you run the risk of things that like for like if it was like granting advantage and things like that. Like I've seen lots of people do that kind of stuff on their channel, and it probably works decently well, or maybe they do it in a specific way that works, that like kind of gets around some of the problems that I see with it. But for me the issue is like, how do you prevent either the characters from having like the player characters from having like way too much power to make the whole thing interesting, or the like giving the GM, like taking away like kind of control from the GM in a lot of ways, to like I don't mean control in terms of like running things like iron fisted, like I mean more like in the sense that making things go off the rails in a way that is not fun for the players or the audience. And that's that's such a hard thing to balance, and you can't rely on just, I don't know. I haven't really thought this through too much, but
no, I think I have since the last time we talked about this ages ago. I think when I saw this conversation, I've had more recent thoughts on this, and I think like the issue with doing that with something like Dungeons and Dragons is that there's kind of limited number of ways for them to interact through it. And when you think about, compare Dimension 20 to Critical Role to like the shows that like, even any of the folks at like Arthur, like Vanna or like Lore or Q Times, like all the games that we stream, D&D or not, all of those are like kind of usually like homebrewed or homemade settings and games with their own like kind of gameplay loops and stuff like that. So you can't like make an app or like an integration that's going to account for all of the story beats of that. But it's interesting to me. The reason I brought up Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast is because that's an RPG that's explicitly like storytelling focused, and there's like a set cast of characters in that game that Jay has made that all occupy what is essentially Foster's Home for Imaginary Children meets like sort of Ghibli-esque vibes. And I think that's an interesting opportunity for it, because then like you can just introduce like ways for chat to like inject events. And I think then, whereas it's difficult to make a Twitch integration that works for any D&D game, but for something more specific like Zaba's Bed and Breakfast, or for like smaller role-playing games like that have more kind of grounded ways for chat to just prompt the action, I think it works the same way that something like the Cult of the Lamb integration does, where like the things that chat gets to do in Cult of the Lamb necessarily must be super limited, because that's how the game works. But anything that they do is always going to have like an immediate impact, and it's going to change the gameplay in some way, like when it happens. And so I think that's sort of essential to it. So like having a game that has a more kind of grounded or limited scope to it, if you're going to do that.
Yeah. But I think that the idea overall is a good one, because like one of the things that I think makes Twitch such an interesting platform to so many people is that level of interactivity, you know, the ability to like interact in real time. Like I've talked before on this show about how like when I first started looking at Twitch streams, I immediately bounced off of it, because I was coming to it from like the mentality of somebody watching Let's Plays, because I didn't watch a lot of Let's Plays on YouTube but like I did sometimes, and I was always watching those because I wanted to see that game played. And so I like bounced off of Twitch because I was like, okay, I can't do this. This is too much. There's too much not playing of the game happening. But then eventually I came back and I realized like, oh, that's not the draw of watching somebody play a video game on Twitch. The draw on Twitch is totally different. It's about the interactivity, like being able to like interact in real time and having immediate feedback from like the streamer or like the rest of chat and that kind of thing. And like, so I think you're right. I think there needs to be some kind of like some sort of interactivity, because I think that really is the big draw of Twitch and live stream. But
yeah, because like to circle back around to the kind of the vicinity of like game streaming and more like variety content and stuff, like I part of the reason that I think that I enjoy doing this is because I grew up playing video games with my younger brother, and we had a time, like when we were kids, we had a time limit for how long we could play video games, so that, you know, we would go outside and touch grass for other parts of the day, because, you know, if not, Colin and I would have stayed inside playing Super Metroid and Halo, and Lego Star Wars and all of that other stuff. So Colin, my brother, and I would game the system, but one of us would use our 30-40 minutes or whatever of game time, and the other wouldn't play at all. And then when they were finished, the other one would use their 30-40 minutes of game time. And so we would sit and watch each other play games and just hang out and chit chat and be brothers. And I think that like fed into a lot of my enjoyment of Twitch as a viewer, and then also my desire to be on Twitch as a streamer, which is kind of just brings me around to like I think people come to streams not necessarily for the specific game that you're playing, but just for that experience of being on the couch with you, or feeling like they're sitting on the couch or in the living room and playing games together, or doing whatever it is, going about their day, but still having that sense of like somebody's here and hanging out and doing a thing I like, and you know, I get to chat with them a little bit about it, and they'll chat with me a little bit.
Aston said it would be fun to stream a game where it's set on a space station or something, and watchers could trigger events or create NPCs who visit the station, like a bed and breakfast idea. That's cool. I like that concept. That's pretty interesting. There would need to be like a system in place where it wouldn't just be like events just constantly happening and piling on top of each other at random, like just like so that you would have like, oh, this thing happened, oh no, but also this thing happened, and on top of that this thing is also happening, and it's just, there would need to be a system in place for that. But I think I like that a lot.
Yeah, and I would love, like, Invert, it sounds like the game that you've been playing lately with your chat was like much more like hands-on with them, where they get to like kind of prompt events and stuff like that.
Yeah, they don't get to prompt events, but when a vote pops up, that's when they get to join in and you know, make a vote, change the outcome.
Like basically shift the direction that the game is going.
Yeah.
Actually,
they're trying to drag the game one way, you're trying to drag the game the other way. The other nobles are trying to drag the game a different way.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
like Nico said,
fun.
clocks and limited votes, and I think that probably would be the way to do that. Yeah.
Though I kind of wonder, like, you do have moderators who could
Mm-hmm.
kind of control the flow of that for you as well.
That's true.
Mhm.
That's true. Yeah. But
We're
My
by
goodness. See,
tornado.
another game I played with Twitch integration is
Mhm.
RimWorld,
okay.
and
Ooh.
with a certain Twitch integration mod that I was using, my moderators actually create a voting thing,
Hmm.
and they make like, do you want to summon a tornado now? Do you want to give him a bunch of silver, or do you want to whatever? So they
Mhm.
Oh,
create that stuff
that's
whenever
very
they feel
cool.
like it at good points,
That's really
and then the
cool.
chat votes on it, and then the tornado appears afterwards. Obviously,
Which is
no one would
wild.
vote for anything but the tornado.
Listen, chat is if
Every
I've learned
time.
anything, chat is all about chaos. Like
Yeah,
that's chat has an
100%.
innate bent towards chaos. Oh my
And
gosh.
it's excellent. It's excellent.
Absolutely. I'm curious because I'm vaguely familiar with RimWorld, but like what kind of remind me what kind of game is it? It's like a is
Like
it like
a sandbox over. It's 2D
a okay
overhead. You make buildings. You have a bunch of colonies you're trying to keep alive.
okay so
You're
it's
cutting down
basically like a colony
trees.
sim basically like a
Yeah.
cool okay yeah that's awesome. I didn't realize that it
That's
had that
Super
kind
in
of
depth.
like yeah that I didn't realize it. So does it have like innate Twitch integration or is this just
No,
something
it
that like
doesn't.
no it doesn't okay
Modders added those in.
cool okay
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah.
That
That's
that is a really cool way of doing that though. Like
No, 100%.
I think that is the other thing too, right? Is that I don't know that there's like a like across the board way of doing integration. Like it sort of depends on the game that you're playing, the way that integration happens, and I think that's what makes it really hard to figure out how to do those things because it is very specific. I think oftentimes to the game you're playing.
Yeah, I imagine it's like it'd be vastly different for something like a TTRPG that you're
Mm-hmm.
playing live at the time.
Yeah,
Mhm.
You can't just
we've
have like a pop-up thing and suddenly
right
a
like we've
random
done
goblin drops out of the sky like that.
Mhm.
yeah like
Oh,
we've
John
done
Glenn's in your
stuff
game now.
yeah tried to with some of our like charity games like that's something that we've like experimented with like having like a table of events where it's like oh you donate and you get to like we get to roll one of these events on the table and then like it sort of happens but like that's I think it's very difficult to organize with a TTRPG. Way harder, I
Okay.
think, than it would be to organize in like a video game, right? That sort of
Sure.
lends itself to that kind of thing. But yeah,
I think like I mentioned earlier, I think part of it is that like for it to work in a tabletop RPG, it has to be like the game has to be pretty limited in scope and it has to be pretty focused. Like kind of uh, on the rails is maybe the wrong word to use here, but like it does have to be a little bit on the rails, right? You know, the space colony idea that somebody had earlier, or even like the context of the Mall Kids charity stream that we did,
hmm
where we used that exact kind of like, yeah, this table of events that we made with the game creator that people could donate to have us roll on. Everybody knew what the events were, so it was like, oh yeah, I'll throw a few bucks a few times to see if I can roll this event that I want, or I'll donate more and I'll pick an event that I want to see happen. Like so that kind of thing. Like I think like that's like the closest I think that we've had to that kind of thing, and even then it can get it was supposed to be chaotic, but it gets very chaotic very quickly. So like
Yeah.
having that like limiting factor of like okay, this can only happen so often, and then like the events are able to like directly tie into whatever you're doing pretty seamlessly. Like those are the things that I think they're the most important for a tabletop RPG.
yeah, yeah. Um, I was this is going in a totally different direction, but there's a question I had earlier, which so like because earlier Invert I had asked you like what games you've been playing recently, but like what are some of your what are some of your favorite games that you've played on stream?
Favorite games. Well,
Yeah.
I freaking love. I love playing any Souls-like games on
Okay.
stream. Absolutely love them.
Mm-hmm.
The most recent one I played was Wo Long, but I
Mm-hmm.
think my favorite, my two favorite, no, my three favorites would be Dark Souls 3, Sekiro, and Elden Ring to play on
Okay.
stream.
Mm.
Utterly
Nice.
fantastic, super fun.
Mhm.
Did deathless runs of all of those.
Oh wow,
Super great.
Wow.
Um,
that's
Dang.
that's impressive.
it it's not as impressive as people think it is, to be honest with you. Like this is
Mhm.
just like bumping me down a bit. It is honestly just practice and repetition. Like with anything else, really. That's all
Yeah.
it is. If you do it enough times, it becomes just muscle memory at a certain point. You're just going
Yeah.
through the motions. You don't really need to think about it because you get a route you run, right? And that's
Hmm.
the exact route you're going to run over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
There's some RNG here and there, but it's not that much. You're basically doing the same thing over and over again.
It's not dissimilar to speed running, which I do a little bit of on my channel. Like I've speed run Metroid Dread a few times, and like I did a marathon stream a while back where I played like all of the 2D Metroid games. And it yeah, I do understand what you mean. Like 'cause when you're speed running, you have a route that you take, right? And
Yeah.
it's the same route every time, more or less. Like sometimes you deviate a little bit if your health is low and you need to farm like HP or ammunition or something like that. But yeah, I suppose I do get that. Also, I'm
Yeah, it's
like
practice and repetition.
yeah, I fight the urge sometimes when I'm doing that stuff to be like, oh well, yeah, no, I'm not like top 25 speedrunners. I'm not that good. Like and being like, okay, like there's like finding that middle ground of like, okay, yeah, this is definitely something that takes practice and repetition, but by no means am I like the top speedrunner on the Super Metroid like motherboard leaderboards.
God, see the thing about speedrunning for me and why I probably would never do it is there's a competitive aspect to it with the
Hmm.
leaderboards up there, you know?
Mhm.
I don't do the competitive thing anymore these days. Like I can't
Yeah.
do it. It just like
Yeah.
stresses me out. I don't want to hit those numbers. I just want to relax and do my thing, you know? That's why I like the death runs. Like it's just deathless
Hmm.
runs because it's just at my own pace. It doesn't matter if I do it at a certain time or not. I'm just completing my one goal and that's it. And it's fun, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
the difference
There's not,
between
not that
challenge.
stress behind it.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
difference between like a challenge run and a speed run. Like I'm gonna try and do this as efficiently as humanly possible, and I'm
No.
gonna do this in a way that I want to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
no,
I
I'm
think.
right there with you. I like the idea of like competitive like video games has never really that like a competitive aspect of video games has never really appealed to me. Like I remember and maybe this stems from the same thing that the same reason that I like never got into Halo. Maybe they're one and the same because I playing Halo and it was always versus whenever I played it because I didn't have a
Mhm.
console or whatever and then I playing it was always like playing versus playing like the multiplayer versus maps and against the one guy who like played constantly and like knew
Yeah.
the whole
Yeah.
map and he'd get the sniper rifle and
Right,
just
right.
instantly headshot every time you spawned. It's like okay, this isn't fun. So like
Who's
maybe
this
that's
fun
where it
for?
stems. It stems like
No,
maybe
I
maybe
totally
my
get that.
dislike for Halo and competitive gaming come from the same place. It's entirely possible.
There was a time when I did love those FPS games.
Mm-hmm.
I would play them constantly. But
Yeah.
like within the past, I don't know, like decade or so, I've just started just on a decline of enjoyment for those types of
Yeah.
games.
Mm.
I don't know what it is though. Is it
The
like because
length.
I'm losing my like
Hmm.
Twitch reflexes? Is it I just maybe I just want to sit down and relax. I don't want the stress of having like a 13-year-old kick my ass and then call my
Yeah.
mother names or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Like
What?
Yeah.
I don't understand why that's not an enjoyable gaming experience for you. I'm sorry. I don't
like
understand. I don't get it.
I like and I used to play Apex Legends fairly regularly. Like
Mm-hmm.
I would play like kind of one competitive shooter a few times a year, and then like the amount of time in between me playing game like Apex or like Overwatch or games like it has been getting longer and longer,
Yeah.
and the amount of time that I play them when I do play them has been getting shorter and shorter and shorter.
Yeah, I've
I've been
really tried to enjoy Apex. I've really
Yeah.
tried. I
Ni-
played like Fortnite for like a month and I love that actually.
Mhm.
It's funny.
Just
So
not Apex though, something about it.
Nico made a really interesting point just now. He's like, it's because the games are built for grind nowadays, and I think that's so interesting
Oh,
because
true.
when I think about it, I have had a lot of fun with a competitive multiplayer game recently, and it was Star Wars Squadrons, where like you're not grinding for anything. Like, you get better by practicing and getting better at the game, not by like grinding for hours and hours and hours to get this thing that makes your numbers go up slightly. Like, you grind to unlock things, but they're unlocks that just sort of give you more options for your loadout combinations. They don't necessarily make you better at like the game or whatever. They really are just, you're grinding to unlock gameplay changes, not like competency increases. And so I had a lot of fun with that game, because even me, who is like, I think I am on the more casual side of okay, let's put it this way. I'm somewhere in like in the sliding scale between casual and hardcore gamer. I'm like in the middle towards casual. And like,
Same here.
I have very little interest in becoming the best and like getting into the top 10% of, not interested in that. I just want to be kind of good at things, and I just want to have fun. And so like,
I feel like
a very helpful competitive mindset. No. But like, what happens is even I can luck my way into being good sometimes, because it's all skill based rather than grind for the higher numbers based. So that is maybe a very good point, Nico. I didn't think about that.
I always think of folks who sit in that kind of region as the casual tryhard.
The casual tryhard.
Like, it's not like like, oh yeah, no, I'm a filthy casual. Like, it's not quite that level of like, whatever happens happens. Like, you want to be kind of good, but you're not like, you're not like, okay, I'm gonna put in 300 hours playing this game, so that I can learn to wall bounce and jump around people while they're still trying to figure out whether or not I'm shooting them. Like, yeah.
That sounds like me.
Yeah, no, I fit
in. I'm dead.
I was scrolling through my backlog of like screenshots and downloads to clear space out on my phone recently, and I found like this meme that I had downloaded at some point was like, my friends playing PUBG. There's a guy over there, and then the guy, and it was just like, it was like zoomed in. It was like 8 pixels of some like brown and then like a few specks of black. And it was just that's how I feel a lot of times when I'm playing games like Fortnite or Apex or PUBG or whatever the current soup du jour of battle royales is. Somebody like, oh, there's a guy over there. I'm like, what? And then I get headshot by a 50 cal sniper rifle, and I'm like, oh, okay, fair enough. Next game.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing at Edge of Fit's comment. Pokemon theme. I want to be relatively competent, like some people can become.
That's 100% where I fit in, though.
Yep.
It's like, if I'm playing it, I want to do well in it, but I'm pretty casual about it. Like, I'm okay if I lose, whatever, it doesn't matter.
I'm like,
kind of like how I play.
All right, well.
Dead by Daylight. I play killer in that quite a bit. And for that, I don't care if I win or lose. I actually give my games to the survivors every time. All I want to do is for them to have fun and for me to jump scare them as much as I can. Like, that is the only reason I play the game. I play Michael Myers. You can't detect him really, and I just jump scare people over and over again, and that is it.
Yeah.
That's my fun for the game at that point.
Well, it's so funny.
I've won if I've done that.
I think that's what it comes down to, right? Because like, I've definitely had fun in competitive games when I'm like playing them with my friends and we're just trying to have a good time. Like, we're not trying to like be like real good and like dunk on the other players or anything like that. We're just like oftentimes we're just running around being like a bunch of just shitheads over and over again and just like laughing and joking about stuff. And like Nico said, Dead by Daylight is so great when you play it casually. And like, I think what often happens with competitive games when you're like, sometimes you might end up with that, but if you're playing just sort of in like a lobby with like random people, right? It's always gonna like it's always gonna default towards the lowest common denominator. Like, so like if one person is playing competitively and like everybody else isn't, then it's gonna default to being a competitive game. At least, and like that's kind of how like which is why I tend not to like play a lot of those sorts of games, but like a lot of like the competitive multiplayer sort of things. But I don't know, it can be really fun when you're playing them and you're just playing like you're playing competitive games casually is super fun. Like some of the most fun I've had in video games actually has been with that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like some of these, that's what makes these moments so special when um, all the players in a random game you're playing suddenly start messing around with you, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're just like, you're
Mhm.
crouching together, like crouch walking together, doing something. I don't know, just random things like that. They
Yeah,
stop playing competitively and they're just like playing around
yeah,
together. It's just
absolutely.
magical. I love those moments.
The most fun that I have ever had playing Apex Legends was my brother and I were playing duos, and we came across some guy whose squad mate had been killed, and he was just like crouching in a corner, and we came around and we both like I ran past him. I was like, there was a guy there, and I backed up. I looked at him, and he just looked at me and went like,
No.
and so I just crouch spammed a bunch of times, and he crouch spammed back at me. And then I walked out of the room, and I came back and I crouch spammed some more, and then walked out, and he just started following us. We just adopted a buddy.
Oh, see, those are the best moments in gaming,
Yeah,
honestly, when people want to
Mhm.
play around like that. It's just,
yeah,
there's something nice about it. There's something fun about it.
there
Yeah.
really is. I like
Uh,
I don't like when I've played MMOs, I don't enjoy raiding. But like the one time that I have ever enjoyed raiding, it was when I was doing it like with a guild that I was part of, and we'd get like a couple of us in the raid, and then we'd do like pickup groups.
Hmm.
So we'd like do like maybe 3 or 4 of us from our guild, and then fill the rest of the spots with randos, and then we would, because we were the ones sort of like hosting the raid, we got to set the tone for it. So like we'd set the tone, and it was always just this very like fun casual, like nobody got mad if you did a thing wrong, and which is good because I'm very notoriously bad at not standing in the red circles. So like but yeah, like, and then we like that was like our main recruitment strategy for our guild, really, is just like we'd have pickup groups, and people had so much fun with our group that they're like, hey, are you guys recruiting? We're like, as a matter of fact. And like it was just so fun. Like that was like, and it was always because we're not trying to like keep up with like progression and like any kind of like gear grinding or anything like that, or we were, but we weren't trying to do it in any sort of like militant hardcore grindy kind of way. We're just like having fun.
Mhm.
mhm.
Man, that reminds me of my World of Warcraft days
Mm-hmm.
of raiding. Because
Yeah.
I think I took the opposite route of you.
Oh no.
We were like super serious.
Yeah.
There was a point where we were like the top guild
Wow.
in our realm of for
Dang.
raiding. So we were like super serious about it.
Mm-hmm.
And while it was fun, um, it would have been nice to have like that more chill atmosphere where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
you know what? It's fine that you died there. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
We're just here to have fun and chat and laugh together.
Yeah.
I remember when we were playing Guild Wars 2, we had like our little guild of college friends, and then sometimes what we would do, and fractals are basically just like mini dungeons.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and what we would do is everyone would dye their armor entirely pink, and then we would pug whatever like public group whatever slots remaining in the party we needed to run them, and then we would just be hashtag Team Pink Fractals. Um,
Yep. That's
and we
right.
wound up just being like a little like our own little cryptid phenomena that people would bump into sometimes, like
Yep.
finding fractals at reset every week.
Yeah.
I remember like finding a post that somebody had talked about running into us on Reddit one time on the Guild Wars subreddit. I was like, oh my god.
I remember that.
Huh.
I remember that.
I was like, somebody remember this clowny ass thing that we did for a few months.
That's so funny.
But yeah, no, it's I think like the theme of the conversation we've been having here feels just like set your own goals when you're playing video games and shoot for those, and you will not you're much more likely to have a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what gaming's about, right?
Yeah.
Like, have fun with it, man.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
don't
Well-
take it overly seriously, unless that's what you like. I mean,
That's what
some
I was
people
about to
do
say,
like
yeah.
that competitive aspect of it, but
Yeah.
I feel like for the majority of people, that's not the route they actually want to go.
Mm-hmm.
You just want to sit down, relax, have fun. That's
Well,
it.
just like I feel like so often, far too often, like there's nothing inherently wrong with doing like take a competitive mindset or anything like that. It's just that like when you allow it to like become kind of toxic for the people around you, you know, where you're
Yeah.
just like where it leads to like bad feelings and like that's when it's like okay, this is a game, you guys. We're supposed to be having fun here. It's in the name, game, and so like, but yeah, like there's nothing inherently wrong with it. I'm just not there. I just don't live in a competitive like I don't there's not a competitive bone in my that's not true. It can come out and it's not pretty when it does. But like but it's rare. It's super rare because like that's just not where I like to live. I don't live in that spot. But like there's nothing inherently wrong with it. It's just that
Oh, not
sometimes
at
it
all.
can get out of hand and just be not fun for other people. But yeah.
It's like games for not for everyone, like you said, but for me, it's like, I want to like just kind of chill out, relax. It's been kind of stressful, so let me be.
Yeah. I think
Let
this
me
is
be
why like
that.
oh no, sorry, go ahead, Invert. Sorry.
No, I was just agreeing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and I think this is maybe why one of my favorite game types recently has been like the open world survival crafting games because like some of those are multiplayer and you can like jump on a public server and play, but for the most part it's just like you're just running around doing your own thing, and those are games that it's like it's really good to, like it's easy to like turn your brain off playing those games. You can and it's for like relaxation purposes. It's almost meditative in some ways where you're just kind of like doing a thing. You're just over here, just gonna mine this rock. All right, now I've
I
got
had
some more rocks, and then
Valheim
yeah,
fairly recently. That was very soothing, just chopping down a
it
tree,
is. But like,
bringing it back.
yeah. But the thing I have found is that like Valheim is a perfect example of the kind of game that I like because there are those like open world survival crafting games that are like that have like very low stakes. There's not a lot of like enemies or hazards and things like. And I think that would not hold my interest for very long because I like there to be like at least some degree of risk involved in the whole thing. But Valheim is a perfect example because like that game is way harder than you would think it is just at like quick glance.
Yeah.
And like not that it's a hard game, but like it is harder than like a surface level sort of perusal would lead you to believe.
Oh yeah, once you start venturing further and further, yeah.
Mhm.
It's kind of a little stressful when you head out there.
It really can
Yeah.
be. I recently, my partner and I were playing Valheim, and I was like, they weren't playing, but I sort of was on our server, and I took like a boat. I was like, all right, I'm gonna chart this landmass that we are on and find out. And I was like, ooh, I found a swamp, and I was like, let me
Oh
see what's in
no.
here. I got out of the boat and I'm like, oh, mistake, run back to the boat, and yeah, it can get very stressful, but like that's a thing that I like about it because then it means there's a reason for you to go out and like get all these materials and build up your base and whatever to make it safe.
Yeah.
And I think there's an
Mhm.
aspect to that just really appeals to me, but yeah, but there's nothing
Man.
competitive about that.
Oh, not at all. There's another game recently, Sons of the Forest. If you want a little more
Oh,
scary
is
survival, I
yeah.
still
is
haven't
it
tried it yet, but I'm kind of curious about it.
is it a direct
looks-
sequel to The Forest?
I
That's
think
what I was
so,
gonna
yeah.
ask.
Okay, yeah, because I've played The Forest, but and I know that there's some like really like terrifying
Yeah,
cool like I love survival
Mhm.
horror. I'm a big fan, so like it's on my list for sure of games I want to play.
I
Me
want to check
too.
that out eventually.
Freeman and I played The Forest together a while back, and
Mhm.
that game can get so wild because there's just like these horrifying monstrosities that just like come out of the woods at you sometimes, and you're just not expecting either their presence or their appearance, and both are terrifying.
Yeah, they're just
Mhm.
standing there staring
Yeah.
at you.
Oh
Yeah.
god, that's yeah.
No,
Well, my
they don't
experience
always
with the
attack.
forest was literally, we cut down some trees, built a log cabin, and then one of my friends started cutting a tree, which landed on the cabin and destroyed it. And they were like, "Okay, that's
Ooh.
God,
that's enough of this game, I guess."
I've done exactly that where I'm like I spent all this time putting together something, chop down a tree, falls on the thing I made. I'm like, I think it's
It
time to
was so
stop.
funny
It's
in
time
the
to
moment, though.
go. Yeah, no,
It was so
absolutely.
funny in the moment.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Oh god.
I'm a big fan of like the open world survival crafting games, and actually recently I've also learned I'm a big fan of the like squad based uh like turn based RPGs. So
Oh,
like Pathfinder Kingmaker, for example, is one that I just came back to after like a long
oh,
time of not
love
playing
that
it.
game.
I love that game so much, and it's such a perfect port of like the TTRPG to a video game format.
Mhm.
Like sometimes like I've seen attempts in the past, but it's like the developers like didn't want to commit fully to making like a TTRPG video game, so they like kind of obscured it and kind of like it kind of got a little wishy washy. But like Pathfinder Kingmaker is just perfect. I love it.
Yeah, the sequel is actually really good too, which I
I
enjoyed a
want to
lot.
pick it up because I think it's on sale right now, and I really
I
want to
think
pick
it
it up.
is.
Yeah,
It's super cheap right now.
yeah. So
It's only
and
like $7. Like, what is it?
I've been the sequel I think right now is like $15, which is good. Like
Oh damn.
that's exactly where I've been waiting for it to like it's been on my wish list. And I've been waiting for it to go on sale to this point. So I'm probably
Highly
gonna pick it up.
recommend it. Highly
Yeah, I've
recommend it.
heard
It's a
really
lot of
good
fun.
things about it. But
Is it
yeah,
Wrath of the Righteous? That's the
Wrath of the
second one?
Righteous. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's $15 right now.
Mm-hmm.
Do
Yeah.
it.
That's not bad.
They got
I'm not.
DLC coming out for it soon as well.
Do they really? Oh man.
Yeah.
Ah. Yeah, no, but I really like those. Like the one, especially the closer they are to like tabletop RPG, the more I enjoy them
Hmm.
because I just really like.
Yeah.
I don't know. I am a nest of contradictions. On the one hand, I don't like a ton of crunch in my video games. I don't want to like manage everything. On the other hand, I absolutely love doing that. Please give me more of it. Like like I like getting into the nitty-gritty of like increasing like this character leveled up, let me increase their stats just a little bit
Mhm.
incrementally, get slightly better so that like in several levels I will notice the difference and like I
Baldur's
hate.
Gate 3, the release for that is soon too.
I'm
Like the
so
full
excited.
release.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to playing once it full releases. I want to play Paladin. It's been
Yeah.
on release they didn't have it, so I've been waiting. So I'm at the point where it's like just do 1.0 release and then I'll play it then.
Absolutely. No, that's kind of what I've been doing too. Like I've been so tempted so many times to pick it up, but I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait until it's released.
Yeah,
I'm gonna wait till it's released.
good
So,
call.
yeah.
Yeah, I recently jumped on Last Epoch because I've had the action RPG itch for a long time, and I used to play a lot of Path of Exile. And the way I feel about that game and the people who still play it can be best described by an interaction I saw in chat in Last Epoch, which is that somebody was like, "Oh no, I think the crafting system in Path of Exile is pretty good," and somebody else chimed in and said, "If you think that crafting system is good, my friend, I think you have Stockholm syndrome." Which is just the most succinct roast I think I've ever seen of Path of Exile. But like it definitely belongs to that era of like old, really hardcore like action RPGs from like the Diablo 1, Diablo 2 era. And like last I lost the thread here, but like Last Epoch has been similarly like a game that falls into a genre that I don't always enjoy like the really like nitty gritty getting in there and fine tuning things, but for some reason, like, oh, I can get on and make my boots better tonight. And having that be a simple, achievable goal that I can get on, play for an hour or two, do, and then leave is very nice.
Yeah. I never thought like for I think this is so funny that I'm saying this about myself and liking games like Pathfinder Kingmaker immediately after saying I don't like grindy games because I don't like games that are all about making your numbers bigger. But then I'm over here playing Pathfinder Kingmaker and be like, oh, but I could make their AC 32 instead of 31, and like. Listen, I don't understand it any better than you do, so like. Yeah.
A wizard did it.
A wizard did it. There it is. I think we are at the end of our time. But yeah, it kind of sneaks up on you. Invert, thank you so much for coming and joining us tonight, having this chat with us.
Thank you for having me. Jeez, this was a lot of fun.
It is, yeah, it was a
It's
lot
always
of fun.
fun talking to a bunch of nerds about nerd things that we all love.
Exactly,
That's-
especially when
Oh,
like,
yeah.
and the best part about it is that you can have, like on a show like Ramblemancy, you can have the same conversations over and over again as long as you all got different people in them, because different people have different thoughts and different perspectives. It's great.
Like I said at the beginning when we were getting ready, like Ramblemancy is all of our favorite excuse to get to talk to some of our favorite folks about anything and everything. So always a good time to, I don't know, this is one of my favorite 90 minutes of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Heck yeah.
Absolutely.
Me too.
Um,
Me too.
All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining us tonight on Ramblemancy. Invert, we sort of talked about it a little bit already, but where can people find you?
I am at twitch.tv/invert180. I stream 5 days a week. I'm a full-time streamer here.
Wow.
It's a lot of time, which is a little unfortunate because I do enjoy hanging out in other people's Twitch channels,
Mhm.
but you can't do that while you're live.
Mm-hmm.
It's the one thing I miss about like working a regular job.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, y'all, thank you so much for hanging out tonight, for chatting, for sharing your opinions with us in the chat. We will be back next week, with a very special returning guest, the one and only Allison. You know her from Tomorrow Is Dead, playing the ill-fated Kit. But but she'll be here chatting with us about. I don't actually know if we have a topic next week. I think we're just hanging out and chatting. So
It's,
We
it's like
rambling.
yeah,
we're having Allison on, and that's the topic.
That's
it's
the
a bit
topic,
like the
yes.
time. It's a bit like the time that we were like, okay, so Ramblemancy, great show. What if Ramble Fancy? And that's where we stop.
what
We
if
just- yeah. We
Ramblemancy,
dress up.
but we dress up? That was the
Yep.
whole show.
We always do that again.
We should,
Anyway.
and we could
Yeah,
and
I think
should,
so.
but
Could and should.
yeah. So we'll hopefully see you next week for that. But if not, we'll see you the next time you decide to come roll with us. Good night and good zone, everybody.